Ranger pickup truck that they had lowered just ridiculously low. I mean, just, like you say, no clearance. And I rode in that, and we were just there in Taylorville. We just went around the square, and, remember how whenever people used to cruise around the square, there was kind of that circuit that you would take, go up and go around the square, and you go through McDonald's, and maybe go out by the high school,
Or hit Hardee's.
Yeah, we did that, and it was like every single bump just felt like something huge. So maybe they didn't do it right or something. I don't know. I just assumed that all of them were like that when you lowered them that much.
No, well, and not only that, they may have not done it properly. They probably done the cheap and very dangerous way of doing it, which is sticking cinder blocks underneath the vehicle and the springs till it touches them. Believe it. Stick cinder blocks. This is what people were doing to lower their vehicles, and it's very, very dangerous because it tempers the springs. But they would take cinder blocks or small blocks or whatever, stick it underneath of a vehicle on flat surface, take a torch.
Of it, right?
Yeah, no, leave the wheels on it.
All right.
That way you can lower it. Take the torch, and heat the springs till it lowered the vehicle.
Ah, okay.
A lot of people were doing that, and they don't realize that once they tempered that spring steel, it's over. It's no longer any good.
Not springy. They're going to hit one bump too many, and it's going to go bust.
Right. Well, and like I was saying with mine, to give you an example, I'll just talk just the front springs alone. They were I believe like 170 or 180 pounds per square inch. Yeah. The ones that are on there now are 400 per square inch.
Ah, well.
So they're bumped up, and I'm actually going to change those. I'm gonna soften the fronts. But
now, what vehicle is this?
This is on the Pontiac.
On your Fiero?
Yeah. Now on the other car, they're non-adjustable shocks or non-adjustable struts with light springs. They're not super heavy, but it's also a drag car. I want it to sit on them tires.
Okay. All right.
So it's not as stiff as a board.
And we've added a car talk segment to our show.
we do that occasionally. We can do that. And I mean, if you want to go political with it, we can always go back to the hybrid and how much I hate the Prius.
Not a problem. But you know what? I've got Brian Williams is back at it again.
Oh, now what?
Yeah, on MSN.com, and I found this via IOTWreport.com, IOwnTheWorldReport.com. Awesome website. In the face of much incoming fire, Brian Williams couldn't muster up the admission to his bosses that he lied about being shot down by RPG fire in an Iraqi helicopter, Vanity Fair reported. He couldn't explain what happened. He said, "Did something happen to my head? Maybe I had a brain tumor or something in my head." The magazine reports Williams said right before he made what critics called a half-hearted apology on air. Williams had apparently also gone rogue on NBC News' PR department, who thought he would be talking to Stars and Stripes, the military outlet that broke the Iraqi helicopter story, off the record, to see what they'd be writing. Instead, he went on the record to admit that he'd been stretching the truth for years. Beyond the Nightmare Williams scenario, the story goes into the downfall of NBC News since Comcast took over. When Comcast took over, they had the number one morning show, the number one Sunday show, and the number one evening broadcast. That's all completely fallen apart. I don't know how you blame anyone but Comcast and the people it brought in. It's been a nightmare, says a former top NBC executive. Inmates have been running the asylum. Boy, doesn't that sound like our White House? In the news division, according to the report, and one of the chief culprits for letting things get out of control has been NBC News President Deborah Turness, Turness. News is a particular thing. News is a very particular thing. NBC is a very particular beast, and Deborah, well, she really doesn't have an effing clue. A senior NBC exec told Vanity Fair she's letting the inmates run the asylum. Wow. Uh,
Very nice.
you know, for those of us that kind of pay attention to what the news presents, and we see things like back when in Sanford, Illinois, or Sanford, excuse me, Florida, when George Zimmerman and Trayvon Martin had that tragic encounter, and it was, by all accounts, no matter what happened, no matter who you believe, no matter what side you take on it, it was a tragic encounter for all parties involved. Um, Remember when NBC edited the 911 call to make it look like George Zimmerman was being racist? When they edited out the 911 operator asking if he knew what race the person was he was calling about. And they took that out. And accordingly, or supposedly, somebody got fired for that. But it was kind of hushed up. But I mean, for those of us that kind of take the news seriously, and what's being fed to us, and we question it with a good healthy dose of skepticism, which I really encourage every single American to do. I don't care what outlet it is. I don't care if it's a news outlet I don't really agree with. I don't care if it's a news outlet I generally agree with. I try to have that critical thinking skill set, and I try to use it. So whenever you get a news outlet that's doing things like that, and I mean, NBC is also the same news outlet, if you remember, back when Obama was running, and there was a rally that he attended, and there was a Second Amendment rally outside where he was speaking, and it showed this guy carrying an AR-15. And if you remember, NBC said that that was racist. It was horrible that people would do that to a black president. The guy carrying the AR-15 was a black man. MSNBC deliberately fixed the photo or the video where you would not see anything but the man's back. You wouldn't see his neck, wouldn't see his head, his arms, hands, anything. So that they could deliberately cry racism. And then when they were caught on it and called on it by other news agencies, they didn't say one word that I know of. They never did backtrack or apologize. So yeah, I think that the inmates have been running the asylum for quite a while. And I think it's really sad. I think there's not a whole lot of news agencies out there that people can trust anymore. So.
Nope. Well, and since you said that, I'm going to bring something up.
All right.
The other night, I was unfortunately watching TV because I normally don't. Actually, I actually go to credible news sites for my stuff.
Yeah.
But
conservativehideout.com. Shameless plug.
Oh, that's terrible. No, them guys never get it right. I'm telling you.
I know,
but.
Wow.
But I was watching television. I flipped through a couple channels. I landed on PMSNBC, and I'm gonna use Rush Limbaugh's saying "random act of journalism" because what popped up was interesting. What popped up was them talking about how our tax money is going to fly illegal immigrants into the country, courtesy of Obama. So it's not enough that they're jumping over the borders. Now he wants to fly them in for free on your dime.
I know, isn't that fun?
And this wasn't Fox News, so all you Fox haters out there can just shut your trap. This was PMSNBC, your favorite news station, run by George Soros and Democrats alike.
Yep. And guess what? I am looking that up even as we speak.
Yep, you need to do that.
Breaking down the debate over breaking down the debate over Obama's immigration plan. Alabama Senator Jeff Sessions, arguably one of the Senate's staunchest opponents to immigration reform, laid out a multitude of reasons for opposing Obama's immigration action in an opinion piece on USA Today. No, he's not getting into the flying. Nope. You know, it's always funny when something like that airs, and the White House obviously, you know, they don't like it when something like that airs because it puts them in a bad light, right? It's really odd how
Yeah.
a lot of times things like that get scrubbed from the internet and they're hard to find, isn't it?
Oh, of course. They don't want you to know things like that. In fact, if you pay attention and just go to like YouTube and type in, just random Obama, anti-Obama things, it's all disappearing.
Yeah.
Like ones that I've watched are not on there anymore. Like I know it's here.
Uh-huh. Yeah, images of unaccompanied children flooding across U.S.-Mexico border defined the immigration crisis last summer. Now, the federal government is intervening so those children won't have to make that trek. They'll get to fly into the U.S. instead for free. A new State Department and Homeland Security program seeks to stop the surge of immigrant children from Honduras, Guatemala, and El Salvador at the southern border by giving their U.S.-based parents the options to apply to have their kids picked up and put on a plane without paying a penny. The parents are eligible as long as they have some sort of legal status, as first reported by Judicial Watch and later in the Daily Caller. This would include permanent residents and even illegal immigrants given a work permit and deportation reprieve under Obama's recent lawless executive amnesty actions. Of them, those with children under 21 and living in El Salvador, Guatemala, or Honduras could apply. I think many Americans are going to be surprised to learn that illegal aliens here in the U.S. are getting the Obama administration to go and get their children and fetch them. Tom Fitton, president of the conservative watchdog group Judicial Watch, told Fox News, and all at our expense. So yes, you're exactly right. MSNBC seems to be biting the hand that's feeding it, doesn't it?
Yeah. Constantly. I mean, I'm trying to wrap my head around this, and it's going to explode.
Well, Fox News is carrying it also. Government program would fly in Central American children to join parents in U.S. So, all right. Well, nothing this administration does anymore surprises me. I swear to God, if Obama was caught on tape, killing a puppy, MSNBC would put the headline, Obama making the world safer for cats.
Yeah, they'll spend anything that they can for him, and that's the honest truth.
I read something a little interesting on another website that I used to write for. It's called floppingaces.net. Great website. Run by a law enforcement officer in California, I believe. He goes by the handle Kurt, and he's a great guy, and he welcomes all opinions, both conservative and liberal, libertarian, anything, even anarchy. There's a couple anarchists that sometimes write there, but anyway, it is being posited over there, and also by a few other talking heads, that Obama has, right now in the last 2 years, year and a half of his presidency, is trying to confer more and more power to the United Nations, because once he leaves office, it seems to be the belief that he may be pushing for the job of heading up the UN. I don't know, what is that called? Secretary General, or I think that's what it's called.
Yeah.
Of the United Nations. And then trying, in essence, king of the world kind of a thing. I think it'll be a laugh if he does that, especially when we get a conservative president in office. Somebody like a Ted Cruz or Rand Paul or somebody like that's going to look at him and go, yeah, right. Whenever Obama says, oh, you've got to do this and you've got to do that. as